Hi students, today we are going to study about embedded firmware development languages. Okay, so there are mainly three types of embedded firmware development languages. One is assembly language, second one is high level language, and the third one is a mixture of assembly language and a high level language. So first we are going to study about assembly language. Okay. So what is an assembly language? Assembly language is a human readable notation of machine language. Assembly language is simply a human readable notation of machine language. Okay. So what is a machine language? Machine language consists of only zeros and ones. Okay. So the machine or the system or the processor will understand only zeros and ones. The binary format only the machine can accept. Okay. So whatever the program we are writing using the mnemonics, using alphabets and numbers, the assembler will convert it into a machine language code. Okay, so the machine language is a binary representation and it consists of what? Only ones and zeros. Okay, so the peculiarity of this machine language is, okay, so it can be understandable by only the processor. Okay, next, the assembly language is processor or controller dependent. Okay, for a particular processor there will be a particular assembly language, for another processor there will be another language, for another controller there will be another language. Okay, so that is the peculiarity of assembly language. Okay, so if you are writing a program for one processor using assembly language, it cannot be used for another processor. The same program will not work for another processor. Okay, but if you are writing a program in high level language, it is possible. Okay, so if you are writing a program in Java or any other high level C++ or any other high level language, then we can use it for another one processor application also. Okay, so that is the peculiarity of assembly language. It is purely the processor or controller dependent. Okay, so it cannot be used for any other processor or controller. Okay, so the assembly language programming is the process of writing processor specific machine codes in the form of mnemonics. Processor specific machine codes in the form of mnemonics. Okay, so we have an extra module called assembler. Okay, so the function of the assembler is to convert these mnemonics into actual processor instructions, that is machine language. Okay, and corresponding data. Okay, so if you are writing an instruction or writing a program, what are the things you require? One is an instruction is required, another one is data is required. Okay, so there is a unit called assembler unit. Okay, so assembler will collect all the program, all the data, all the library files and everything, and it will assemble and it will finally convert into a hex file, dot hex file. Okay, so that is the machine code. Okay, so we have a general format for an assembly language programming or assembly language instructions. Okay, so first we will specify the op code. What is the op code? What is meant by op code? That is the instruction that we are giving in alphabets. Okay, then it will be followed by the operands. Okay, Okay, operands are the elements where which we are operating. Okay, that is operands. So first opcode will be there and next operands will be there. So this opcode will work on these operands. Okay, these values. Okay, so the opcode tells the processor or controller what to do. Okay, the opcode will tell the processor or controller what the processor or controller has to do, and the operands provide data and information that is required for performing a action that is specified by the opcode. For example, move a comma b. Move a comma b. Here move is the opcode and a and b are operands. Okay, so a and b are providing the data and opcode is provided by what? This move instruction. Okay, so it is not necessary that all opcode will be followed by an operand, because one instruction is there, halt, HLT, halt instruction. Okay, so if you execute a HLT instruction, the program execution will stop. Okay, that is a peculiarity of halt instruction. Okay, but there is no operands. Okay, only opcode is there. Okay, so some opcode will implicitly contains the operand, and in such situation no operands are required. Okay, so the opcode itself contains the operand in that case. Okay, so that's what the example I told, HLT or halt. Okay, so if you consider the operand, it can be a single operand or dual operand. Okay, so here one is 8051 assembly instruction is there, move a comma hash 30. Okay, so 30 is a hexadecimal number and we have to move this 30 hexadecimal number to the accumulator register. Okay, 30 hexadecimal 30 is moved to accumulator register. Okay, so this is the function of this instruction. Okay, so move a is the opcode and 30 is the operand. Okay, so we are having a single operand here. So anyway, this move a comma hash 30, the processor or the controller cannot understand this thing. Okay, so how this machine language will look like, how it will look like, we can see. Okay, so this is the instruction that is converted to machine language. Okay, so this is the instruction that is converted to machine language. The first 8-bit represents the opcode move a, and the second 8-bit is the binary value that represents 30. Okay, so the first part, first 8-bit is representing move a, and the second thing is the second part, the second 8-bit is representing the number 30. Okay, so this is how we are converting the assembly language program to a machine language code. So in assembly language, another one important thing is, so we will write this program or instructions line by line. In one line we will write one instruction, we will complete one instruction in one line. Okay, we can write this in one line because there is a general format for writing this program. Okay, so when we are converting it into machine language, it consists of a sequence of assembly language instructions. Okay, assembly language instructions, and it consists of a mnemonic, that is opcode plus operand. Okay, so each line of the assembly language program can be split into four fields. Okay, four different fields. When we are writing a program, we can split this assembly language program into four fields. Okay, so first one is label. So label is an optional field. Okay, it is not mandatory. Okay, so label is an identifier that is used extensively in program to reduce the reliance on program for remembering where the data or code is located. Okay, so we will mark some points as label. Okay, so it is commonly used in jump instructions. Okay, so if you want to jump to one location to another, we can use this label. Okay, so this label will denote the memory location where that particular instruction is stored. Okay, so if you want to find that location, we can easily identify, the programmer can easily identify. Okay, so the label is commonly used for representing a memory location address of a program or subroutine. That's what I told you, jump instruction, subroutine, or a particular function of a code or a portion of a code, that also we can represent. Okay, so that is a peculiarity of label. Okay, so the maximum length of this label will differ from assembler to assembler. Okay, so the assembler will define what is the length of the label we have to use. Okay, so then opcode is there, then operand is there, and finally comments are also there. Next topic is source file to hex file translation. How we will convert the source file to a hex file, or how we will convert the assembly language program to machine language program. Okay, the source file means the program that is written in assembly language. Okay, so it has to be converted to a machine language code. Okay, so the assembly language program written in assembly code is saved as .asm or assembly file. Okay, or .src file. Okay, so these are the two file formats that are supported by the assembler. Okay, so similar to C language or other languages, we can have a multiple number of source files. Okay, we can have a more than one source file or more than one assembly file, .asm file. So we have a software utility called assembler. Okay, so it will translate the assembly code to machine code. Okay, so the assembler that is used for different processors are different. Okay, so we are discussing about the 8051. Okay, so for 8051, A51 macro assembler that is developed by Keel Software. Okay, that is a popular assembler for 8051 family of microcontrollers. Okay, the name of the assembler that we are using is A51 macro assembler, that is developed by Keel Software. Okay, so this is how the assembly language to machine language conversion process perform. Okay, so first of all we have a source file 1. Okay, so as I told you earlier, we can have a multiple source files or multiple assembly files. Okay, source file 1 can be .asm or .src file. Okay, this is for the module 1. Okay, so after this source file, okay, so this source file alone will be assembled by using a module assembler. So we have a source file 1, source file 2, etc. Source file 3, 4, 5, etc. So for the first file, we have a first module assembler. Okay, what this module assembler will do? It will convert this source file 1 into object file 1. So it is having an extension .obj. Okay, object file 1. Next, source file 2 will be converted to object file 2 using a module assembler. Okay, so this is module 1. It is having a separate assembler. We will get an object file 1. Module 2 is having a separate module assembler. We will get an object file 2. Okay, then it has to be linked with the library files. Okay, so we have a library instructions. Predefined programs are there. Okay, those are called library files. Okay, so we have a predefined program, and in between the program we will call these library files. So those are already executed, already converted into object files. Okay, so we can have that files directly. Okay, so the function of this linker or locator is to combine these library files and all the object files. Okay, and make it as absolute object file. Once again, we have a library files. Library files are predefined function. So it is already available in the form of object file. Okay, so it will locate all these library files. Okay, and it will convert these object files and library files to a single object file. Okay, then this object file is given to object to hexa file converter. Then finally we will get the machine code or hex file. Okay, so module 1 we have a source file that is converted to object file 1 using module assembler. Module 2 source file is there. It is converted to object file 2 using module assembler. Okay, then we will take the library files also. Okay, then the linker or locator will combine all these library files and object files to form an absolute object file. Okay, this object file is given to object to hexa file converter. Then we will get a machine code. Okay, so the machine code, what is the extension of the machine code? The extension of the machine code is .hex. Each source file can be assembled separately. Okay, to examine the syntax error or incorrect assembly instructions, etc. Okay, everything will be checked and debugged, and then the object file will be created. So assembling of each source file generate a corresponding object file .obj file. Okay, the object file doesn't contain the absolute address of where the generated code need to be placed. So the linker or the locator is responsible for assigning absolute address to object files during the linking process. Okay, so it has to link all the object files. Okay, and it will assign some memory location. The absolute object file is created from the object files corresponding to different source code modules contain information about address where the instruction needs to be placed in the code memory. Next we will use a software utility called object file to hex file converter. Okay, so the object file to hex file converter will convert the corresponding object file to binary file, that is hex file. Advantages of assembly language. So we have 4 advantages. So first one is efficient code memory and data memory usage or memory optimization. Okay, so the developer or the programmer is well aware of the target processor. It knows about the processor. So it knows about the processor means what? It knows about the architecture, the memory organization, the buses, the flag register, etc. Okay, so we can develop an optimized code, okay, for performing operation. So if you are writing an optimized code, utilize less code memory and it will efficiently utilize the data memory. If you are writing an optimized code, then code memory can be utilized properly and data memory can be also utilized properly. Okay, so if you consider 8051 or 8086, there is a memory constraint because the RAM available is very low. Okay, if you consider 8051, the size of the RAM is 128 byte. Okay, if you consider 8086, the 8086 processor is connected to 1 MB of RAM. Okay, so this is a very low memory. So we have to utilize this memory wisely. Okay, so programmer has to write and optimize the code. Next is high performance. So that is also depending on the first point. Okay, if you are writing an optimized code, the total performance will be increased. Okay, so the performance will increase obviously due to assembly coding. So next one is low level hardware access. Okay, so most of the code for this low level programming, like accessing external devices, specific register for OS kernel, or accessing the device driver and a low level interrupts. Okay, so we can access the external devices using low level interrupt also. So that is also possible using this assembly language programming. Okay, we can access the ports. Okay, we can access the interrupt pins, etc. Okay, another one important advantage is code reverse engineering. Okay, so we have an important module called a disassembler. Okay, so we will write an assembly language program, we will convert it into object file, then we are converting it into hex file. Okay, so the reverse process is also possible. If you want to convert, we know the hex file, we got the hex file. Okay, we can convert it back into what? Mnemonics. Okay, or the assembly language code, that is the opcode and operand, like that we can change, we can convert it. So code reverse engineering is a technology, okay, to extract the technology behind the product from a finished product. So we will have a finished product, then we have to understand how this product is developed, what is the technology they used. Okay, so for that purpose we will use code reverse engineering. Okay, so it can be easily converted to assembly code using disassembler. Okay, disassembler for that particular target machine. Next is disadvantages or drawbacks. Okay, first drawback is it requires high development time. Okay, so first of all, before writing the program, the developer must study about the architecture, programmer's model, pin configuration, etc. of the targeted processor or controller. That is the first thing. Okay, so the developer takes lot of time to study about the architecture, memory organization, addressing modes, instruction set, then the target processor or these things it has to study. Okay, so the programmer has to write more lines of assembly code, okay, for performing a simple action. Okay, so if you want to perform addition, he has to write 5-6 lines of code. Okay, so for a simple operation also it requires a more time. Okay, next, the code is developer dependent. Okay, the code is entirely dependent on the developer, so there is no rule to write a program. Okay, so he can write the program in any manner, okay, using opcodes and operand he can write in any manner. Okay, if the programmer is an expert, he can write the program in 5 lines. Okay, if the programmer is not an expert, he may write that same program in 20 lines or 30 lines. Okay, so this coding is entirely depending on the programmer. Okay, next is non-portable. Non-portable means if you are writing a program for a particular targeted processor or a controller, it cannot be reused for another target processor or controller. Okay, so that is called a non-portability. We cannot port this program for another processor or controller. We cannot use this for another processor or controller. Okay, so if we change the processor or controller, we have to completely rewrite that application or that file. Okay, for the new target processor, there is no way to convert this existing file to another targeted processor or controller. Okay, so these are the main drawbacks of assembly language. So we studied about programming using assembly language. So this is the important block diagram. Okay, so we can converting each source file to object file, then linker and locator is used for connecting all these object files and source object files. Then these library files are also linked. Then absolute object file is created, then it is finally converted to a hex file. Okay, so thank you for listening to this lecture. If you have any doubts, you can contact me.